This is the CBC Morning Report for today, Wednesday, November 1st. I am Tishia Hines. Good morning. In our top story, the United States Command and Drill Staff College has inducted Barbados Chief of Staff of the Barbados Defense Force into its International Hall of Fame, a first for Barbados. The ceremony, which came off yesterday, celebrated Commodore Sherland for attaining the highest position in leadership of land forces in his country. The Commodore, who also commands the regional security system, is among some 8,500 international military graduates from 167 countries. Commandant of the United States Army Command and General Staff College, Lieutenant General Mildred Beagle Jr., did the citation for the new Hall of Famers.
It is timely and valuable that our Yukon Partner International military students will bear personal witness to this special recognition of our distinguished graduates. Today, we will induct Commodore Sherland, Chief of Staff of the Barbados Defense Force, and General Javier Itiaga del Campo, Commander of the Chief of the Chilean Army. With his induction, Commodore Sherland becomes the 297th inductee overall and the first inductee from Barbados. A graduate of CJSOC class of 2002, obviously the best class ever. Commodore Sherland began in the service to his nation in 1984, culminating with his appointment as the Chief of Staff of the Barbados Defense Force in September of 2021. Commodore Sherland was the first naval officer to serve in this position.
Commodore Sherland, in his acceptance speech, says his time spent at the college was at a tough time, but described the course of study as the most significant and impactful program he has undertaken in his military career.
It is an honor for me to serve alongside the brave men and women who wear the uniform of the Barbados Defense Force, and I share this recognition with each and every one of them. The Commandant General during my time here was General James C. Riley. Perfect is the enemy of good enough. It was a phrase that he used during an introductory speech to us back in 2001. It's not an original quote. It's actually a quote attributed to Voltaire, which says, "L'ennemi du bien est le bien." But that phrase provided me, and I'm sure several of my classmates, with some critical guidance. It is essentially saying not to get caught up in making things perfect, and as a result, never get anything done. If you work for a perfectionist, it comes with micromanagement, a demand for perfect answers, decision and action paralysis, procrastination, and demoralization of subordinates and colleagues. Nothing is ever good for a perfectionist. And I can safely say to you, my dear friends, that I am not a perfectionist and I never will be. I only ask for my staff to give me 80%. We can fix the other 20% as the situation develops and unfolds.
Coming up on the CBC Morning Report, the U.S. Senate interrupted by war protesters.
Not only grown-ups can sing, we can too.
So easy on me, baby. I was still a child, didn't get the chance to.
CBC TV 8 is having a kids karaoke show just for us. So children between the ages of 5 to 17 come in and join in for fun. Email Nadia Foster at nfoster@cbc.bb. Hear you soon. Bye.
For the past 19 years, QFM has been sharing with you, learning from you, and together building.
United Nations Chief Antonio Guterres has said that humanitarian aid deliveries to Gaza are completely inadequate amid deteriorating conditions within the Gaza Strip. The humanitarian need in Gaza is far outpacing existing levels of assistance.
This war has been drawn along a crucial line that the Israeli army set at the beginning of its military campaign. From day one of the military operation, it made it clear that the north was its primary target. It told people to leave Gaza City, the largest and most populous in the Gaza Strip, and move south along what Israel said would be safe passages. Then Israel continued to hit the area hard with a focus on Beit Hanun, also known as the Erez Crossing. Now Israeli troops and vehicles are inside the Strip. People have been running desperately for shelter, not knowing where they're going to go. The displaced went to homes in the south only to find themselves targeted by warplanes in Khan Yunis and Sayrat, Rafah, and many other areas. At this moment, 2/3 are sheltering in UN shelters and facilities for Palestinian refugees, mostly in Khan Yunis and Rafah. But clearly, they're not safe, according to the UN's humanitarian office. 18 people were killed and almost 300 injured while sheltering at UN schools. People have turned to hospitals, but hospitals are overwhelmed, not just with patients, but 117,000 displaced people. The Israeli military has launched airstrikes near Al-Shifa and Al-Quds hospitals and targeted the Turkish hospital in Gaza City and the Indonesian hospital in northern Gaza. All 10 hospitals in the northern part of the Strip have been told to evacuate. If that happens, it will put huge strains on the few remaining hospitals in Khan Yunis, Deir al-Balah and Rafah. Where does this leave the 2.3 million people who live in Gaza? By forcing them south, people in Gaza City and northern Gaza fear they may never be allowed to return to their homes again, and that Israel may be planning a long military presence in these two districts. That leaves them with only one option: to relocate south to Khan Yunis, Deir al-Balah and Rafah. The fear for many in Gaza who were displaced in 1948 is that this latest displacement may last for generations.
Protesters calling for a ceasefire in Gaza interrupted U.S. Secretary of State Anthony Blinken during a Senate hearing on Tuesday. Numerous people stood in the crowd and repeatedly yelled, "Ceasefire now."
The anti-war protest happened when Blinken and Austin testified to the Senate Appropriations Committee on Biden's national security request for $105 billion for aid to Ukraine and Israel, as well as for tougher U.S. border security. Heidi Jo Castro has the latest now from Capitol Hill.
As U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken lobbied Congress for more military support to Israel, protesters calling for a ceasefire in Gaza interrupted him at least 8 times. The hearing before the Senate Appropriations Committee was paused briefly as the protesters were removed, and Blinken acknowledged the growing calls for a ceasefire coming from activists and some portions of the American public.
All of us are committed to the protection of civilian life. All of us know the suffering that is taking place as we speak. All of us are determined to see it end. But all of us know the imperative of standing up with our allies and partners when their security, when their democracies are threatened.
Blinken described in graphic detail the deaths of Israeli civilians when they were attacked by Hamas on October 7th. He did not describe in any detail the deaths of Gazan civilians who have been bombed by Israel since. He did say that Gaza must receive more humanitarian aid and said there has been no evidence that any aid sent thus far has been diverted to Hamas. Congress is considering whether to approve an additional $14 billion of military aid to Israel and $60 billion of aid to Ukraine. Democrats want to pass aid for both countries in one package, but many Republicans have expressed hesitation in giving more help to Ukraine.
Well, it's time to preview what's coming up at 6:30 on Morning Barbados. We're going to tell you all about a fundraiser that's coming up for the mighty Griner. Also, the Barbados Diabetes Foundation will be along to talk to us about their upcoming activities. NIFA will be here to talk about music in the square with their cultural officer for music and the cultural officer for musical organization, along with the official handover ceremony for the procurement of medical equipment on behalf of the government of Barbados. Now, that's an occasion that happened yesterday. We're going to tell you more about that. We're talking HR with Deveron Bruce, political scientist, in the Let's Talk HR with Hermap segment. And we're going to tell you about a true life search and rescue incident that happened in St. Eustatius. That's all coming up on Morning Barbados, so stay tuned. But next, right here on the Morning Report, we have more news, sports, and weather. So stay with us.
For the past 19 years, QFM has been sharing with you, learning from you, and together building a community for all mature audiences. That's why we say Q is good for you. To our Q family, we say thank you for staying connected to Q 100.7 FM. QFM is a station of the Caribbean Broadcasting Corporation. CBC, celebrating 60, connecting Barbadian communities.
Are you a youth group, 4-H club, school, Cub Scout or Brownie Pack, or any organization or club with children ages 4 to 11 years? If yes is the answer, then we at Fun School, we're looking for you. Let's have fun singing, dancing, listening to amazing stories, doing craft, and so much more. I'm such a kid at heart. But to be part of this fun and exciting new season of Fun School, just simply send an email to Alicia Alves Grant at aagrant@cbc.bb for further details. Fun School is back, and we're looking for you.
Barbados is encouraging African commercial and investment banks to set up operations in the Caribbean. Prime Minister Mia Amor-Maudsley has made the call, urging the financial institutions in Africa to follow the example to the Africa Export and Import Afrexim Bank. Her comments come as she leads a Barbados delegation at the ongoing second AfriCaribbean Trade and Investment Forum being held in Guyana. CBC's Kishmar Sanjus reports.
Drawing reference to the entry of Republic Bank in Ghana, Prime Minister Mia Amor-Maudsley sees this as a major step for Caribbean entities. The Barbadian leader wants African banks to consider reciprocating. She weighed in on the impact of such a move in her address at the second Africa-Caribbean Trade and Investment Forum. The event being held in Guyana was organized under the theme, Creating a Shared Prosperous Future.
Who will then, and investment banks, who can then make a huge difference to the level of economic activity in the Caribbean, but more importantly even, to give confidence to the players from Africa with whom they have already existing relationships, that this is an area where business can be facilitated, not just by governments, but by dealing with entities with whom you already have a relationship. I trust and pray that equally, Caribbean people in going to Ghana and wherever else Republic Bank will go, will also have that initial bridge, so that as you walk tentatively out into new horizons, you know that you have faces and spaces that you are comfortable in.
During a panel discussion, Barbados' Central Bank Governor Dr. Kevin Griner revealed that work is advancing for Caribbean countries to trade in their own currencies with Africa. He noted that countries are looking to adopt a currency conversion mechanism.
That in of itself not only promotes growth in terms of trade and investment facilitation, it also eliminates transaction costs. It senses a settlement in the net position. It saves us some foreign currency. It promotes financial inclusion. We don't have to source US dollars when trading between Guyana, for example, and Barbados. We can settle in each other's currency. Now we're looking to start a pilot program, Barbados and Bahamas, and we're looking for a third central bank.
Dr. Griner says there's need for cooperation between central banks in the Caribbean and Africa.
We have to have functional cooperation between the central banks in the African continent and the Caribbean in terms of standardization, regulations, how any regulatory barriers, etc., to move forward. That we've already, a number of us have these relationships already, but it will be making it even wider. And once that's up and running, then it's just go from there. We need, of course, some trade agreements, and AfriCaribbean Bank in the Caribbean and Barbados is part of that process, facilitating it. As Jean Leon said earlier, we need some financing facilities.
Guyana's President Dr. Irfan Ali, meanwhile, challenged the private sector to help find a solution to the problems facing transportation in the region.
AfriCaribbean Bank has assured us that they are ready to examine a proposal from the regional private sector to present this solution. Every single state in CARICOM has made it clear that we will give all the incentives necessary to facilitate the building of a regional transport infrastructure system to solve the problem of regional transport. It is in your hands now.
The inaugural AfriCaribbean Trade and Investment Forum was held in Barbados last year. Kishma St-Just, CBC News.
Protect yourself. The Chief Medical Officer is urging Barbadians to protect themselves as he provided an update on the dengue outbreak in Barbados. CBC's Sharika Griffith reports.
No suspected or confirmed deaths of dengue.
Chief Medical Officer Dr. the Most Honorable Kenneth George providing an update on the Barbados dengue outbreak, which began in September. As of October 16th, the country has recorded 647 suspected cases, compared to 261 for the same period last year. Dr. George wants people to be careful.
We have multiple serotypes of dengue circulating, so that is a red flag for poorer outcomes. And therefore, we need to be cautious because the poorer outcomes include shock and hemorrhage. But we haven't had any of those yet reported. Hemorrhaging meaning bleeding. We've had 1 or 2 cases where people have presented with low platelets, and low platelets in turn can lead to bleeding.
In response to the outbreak, the ministry has resumed its weekly fogging schedule, and homeowners are encouraged to open their windows and doors so the spray can enter. Dr. George also wants people to take steps to ensure their personal protection, including wearing light clothing which covers the arms and feet, and reducing potential mosquito breeding sites in and around their premises.
I've gone into households and seen persons have plants in water. When you look at it, it's full of mosquito larvae, the tires, the guttering, etc. When I say cooperation from the public, I mean cooperation with respect to reducing the sources, but also when they are sick and ill, they need to be able to share their information with the Ministry of Health so that we could do the appropriate investigations, right? What happens is environmental health officers go into communities in Barbados and take information, and we want to know contact information. So simple things like that helps a long way.
Currently, the ministry has been receiving reports of increased mosquito sightings in St. Michael, Oistins, and other areas in the south of the island. The public can make reports by contacting the Environmental Health Department at the nearest polyclinic. Sharika Griffith, CBC News.
Thanks, Sharika. Guyana's Ministry of Education has launched its Education Management Information System, or EMIS, which it says promises to be a game changer. The main function of the software will be to store key information about students and will enable teachers and education officials to efficiently manage data therein, NCTV reports.
EMIS will revolutionize the operations of the education system by allowing officers to access real-time information about each school in the system. It will enable education officers to store enrollment information, transfer requests, attendance, grades, end-of-the-year processing, class portal, teacher web pages, parent portal, teacher information, and timetables. Minister of Education Priya Manikchand says she looks forward to seeing the system being implemented in an effective manner.
I truly want this to be such an integrated system that it's not piloted anywhere. It is in every school, every learning institution, every education district, every department, at NSERD, at the book department unit, available to everyone who wants to track or determine how service can be improved by using numbers.
Chief Planning Officer Nicola Johnson says the introduction of the new system will empower educators to make decisions based on evidence.
Implementing EMIS for us isn't just about joining that trend. It's about preparing our children for the 21st century. One of the core strengths of digitized EMIS is the power of real-time and just-in-time data. This will empower educators, policymakers, and administrators to make informed decisions based on evidence rather than intuition.
A total of 1,573 educational institutions, including public and private schools, are already registered on the system.
Time for a look at sports. Barbados' #1 female squash player, Megan Best, lost her quarterfinal match late last night at the Pan American Games in Santiago. Best went down to Holly Norton of Canada 3-2, 8-11, 8-11, 11-9, 11-7, and 3-11. CBC's Damien Best was on hand yesterday for the earlier rounds in squash.
Well, two of the brightest stars Barbados has to offer in the squash arena were on point in their opening round fixtures here in Santiago, Chile. First up, Margot Prout won her round of 32 fixture to advance to the round of 16. But then she went up against her USA opponent and lost there. However, Megan Best, drawing a bye in that first round, she advanced from the round of 16 after defeating her Colombian opponent. Both Best and Prout were on court around the same time for the round of 16 fixtures. Best was busy battling Lucia Bautista of Colombia on court 4, while Prout was next door on court 3, playing Amanda Sobey of the USA. Prout had done well to advance from the round of 32, coming from a game down to beat Caridad Banana of Colombia 12-14, 11-5, 11-6, 11-8. However, it was always going to be a tough assignment against the higher-ranked Sobey in the round of 16. Sobey sent Prout packing in 15 minutes, 11-2, 11-3, 11-3.
It was a good first match. I was happy to get the win in that, and I knew after winning that I'd be having to face the #1 seed. But I just looked at it as like an opportunity to really show myself that, you know, I've got myself here, which is a good achievement in itself, and just enjoy it. I knew it was going to be hard. I knew, you know, I had to put up a fight, and I did that, I think, and I really enjoyed it, and I'm happy with how I played despite the loss. So yeah, this is my first time playing for Barbados at the Pan Ams, and it's been a really enjoyable experience. I love the team around me, and I just feel every time I'm on court, I'm not just doing this for myself, I'm doing this for my country, and it gives me a little bit of pressure, but you know, pressure is privilege, and I'm really happy that I've got a team around me that's supporting how I'm playing.
Well, the other 21-year-old for Barbados, Megan Best, looked in good nick after a slow start in the first game against Bautista. She trailed 3-love before producing her best squash to draw first blood, 11-6. But credit must be given to Bautista, who made some adjustments and prolonged this 3 best-of-5 encounter, with Megan appealing on several occasions for interference during some intense rallies. The Colombian leveling the contest, 11-7 in the second. However, Best poured on the magic, digging deep to put this one away, 11-9, 11-6, to take the contest 3-1.
That's just me every match, just a slow start. I need to get a better warm-up or something, but no, yeah, as I said, it's first match, so I definitely was trying to work through some nerves here and there, obviously, but I think I got what I needed out of that match, and I feel pretty confident to go into the next match tonight. I definitely want to medal in all 3 events this tournament. That'll be the singles, doubles, and teams. We got a good seeding going into doubles. We're 3-4. Teams as well, we're 3-4. So, even if we maintain that seeding, we'll be coming home at least a bronze.
Best meets the highly rated Holly Norton of Canada in the quarterfinals.
The players here, they're all ranging from top 100 to, I think the number 1 seed is number 3 in the world. So there's definitely a good range of players here. As you said, my next round will definitely be tougher. She's a top 20 player, a lot of experience under her belt, and I've never played her before actually, so this is going to be new for me. I got to go home and do my homework.
Meanwhile, it was day 2 of sailing in the Dengue ILCA 7 with Scott Gittins last in the field of 22 with a total net points of 103 after 6 rounds. Reporting live from Santiago, Chile, Damien Best, CBC Sports.
Time now for a quick look at the weather. The barometric pressure stands at 1009.5 millibars, is 27.1 degrees Celsius. The relative humidity is 86%, and the winds are blowing out of the east at 21 kilometers per hour. Present weather is fair. Sea conditions for Barbados, smooth to moderate in open water with swells ranging from 1 to 1.5 meters. And here's a look at how the tides roll in for today. General conditions for Barbados: a mix of sunshine and clouds with a few brief isolated light showers. Into the evening period, you can expect a mix of clear skies and clouds with a few brief scattered light showers as well. And that's today's morning report. Our next newscast is Newsday at 12 noon on TV8, followed by The World at 1 via our radio network of stations on 100.7 FM, 98.1 The One, and 94.7 FM. Thanks for viewing. Morning Barbados is next.
Wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up. Barbados, get up. Good morning. Good morning, Barbados. Good morning. Good morning to you. Good morning. Morning, morning, morning. Good morning to you. Good morning. Morning, Barbados. Good morning. Good morning to you. Good morning. Morning, Barbados, good morning. Wake up, wake up, wake up. Morning to you.
Morning Barbados, so good to have you in company on this Wednesday, November 1st. As you can tell, I am overly excited, already bedecked in my blue, yellow, blue. You know how it goes. I'm Tisha Hines. I'll be here with you until 8 o'clock this morning. Hey, we have a great show planned for you today, so I'm hoping that you can stick around. As you move around the country, be sure to support the Poppy Appeal and grab your poppies and make that donation. It's all for a worthy cause. Remember, we have the Remembrance Day service coming up on the 12th of November, but tonight we are going to be in Independence Square for the lighting up of our nation, the lighting ceremony, in association with Sagicor Life Inc. They are on board as partners again, and we're going to bring it to you live here on TV8 from 5 o'clock. All right, we have lots planned for you this morning too, though, so we're going to get moving because in this year, 2023, we are celebrating something quite amazing that we've been shouting about for the last few weeks, the 50th anniversary of the National Independence Festival of Creative Arts, NIFA. So today we're looking more at music, what's happening in that area. And to tell us more, we have Kevin Moore, who's Cultural Officer, Music Education at the NCF, and Aisha Butcher, who's Cultural Officer for Musical Organization, also at the National Cultural Foundation. And they know that I would love to have them in studio, but I'll take what I can get. They're online. Good morning, guys. Hey, good to have you with us. And we definitely are in high gear when it comes to what's happening NIFA-wise. Let's talk about Music in the Square, which is coming up as a part of the NIFA presentation. Starts with you, Kevin.
Okay, good morning, Barbados. So NIFA Music in the Square is a continuation of last year, but we're doing it with a little twist. Celebrating 50 years, we have to do something a little hype, you understand? So we are doing Icon Nights, and this year we're celebrating the 3 icons of NIFA music, which are James Millington, Jackie Opel, and Sir Emil Straker. So NIFA Music in the Square Icon Nights, Friday, November 3rd Friday, November 10th, and Friday, November 17th, all in Golden Square, Freedom Park at 6 p.m. So you can come out after work, come out after school, bring a family, bring a friend, sit down, enjoy, and take in all that we have to offer from our Barbadian musical landscape.
Oh, that's beautiful. Aisha, I'm going to let you get into those icons who will be celebrating over these 3 nights.
Yes, please. So, as Kevin mentioned, the first one is James Millington, and there's no doubt to the influence that him and his mother would have had on the Barbadian musical landscape. Where in the classical realm, when it comes to technical capabilities, there's been strong influence. There have been sticklers for perfectionism among our musicians, and you will hear the stories being told of their unique approach to development and betterment of these musicians. So we are going to put, put on concerts in his honor, as well as Jackie Opal and Sir Emil Stricker. And these each night focuses on specific genres. So James, of course, will focus on the classical, the Broadway, the jazz. So we have pieces like Summertime being performed, Feeling Good, we have Linden Lead, and many, many others. And also, it will be a combination, a nice blend of our young stars that are rising, as well as our experienced professionals on the stage this Friday, November 3rd.
Word, because for a long time we talked about youngsters, but now we hear about young stars. I just love the play on that word, and I think we should use it a whole lot more. So Kevin, this music in the square, 3rd, 10th, and 17th, tell us a little bit more about the form it will take, when it will start, because we want to be there.
Definitely. So the format will take is pretty much a concert. As Aisha said just now, celebrating the life's work of these icons. So we're starting at 6 p.m. each Friday. 6 p.m. each Friday, Golden Square Freedom Park. 6 p.m. each Friday, and that'll be Friday, November 3rd, 10th, and 17th.
Oh, that's wonderful. Aisha, talk to us about how important it is for us to look back at some of these icons in Barbadian music and share them with a whole new generation, reintroduce them to some who might know them already, or just celebrate them with the people who have really loved them through the years.
Well, we've gotten to this place because of somebody's work, somebody's foresight, somebody's influence and push. So we can't celebrate a 50th anniversary of NIFA without looking back at the persons who are responsible for why we are where we are at. So it's definitely important, as this is this monumental year, to celebrate those, to remind others that young ones coming up may not be familiar. So it is on us now to let them know we've gotten this knowledge, we've gotten this discipline because of people like these musicians.
Absolutely. And I know for me, I think I said this already to Kevin. I don't know if you heard, but for me, Sir Emil is, I've just really loved and admired his music through the years. If we start even thinking about the music that he did solo, as well as the music he did along with the Merry Men, a lot of it really paid homage to who we are as Barbadians and captured our folklore in a way that, we hadn't seen in the presentation of other music of these in the same category. So this is definitely a wonderful time to be had coming up for music in the square. Remind us of how things are going generally in the area of music for NIFA overall, though.
All right, so for music, generally, we have quite a few things. I'm going to touch on a couple, and then Aisha can touch on a couple, and I'm going to touch on the competition. We've gone past the preliminary stage of the competition. So we're now in rehearsals and mentorship sessions for the final stage of the NIFA music competition. And that promises to be just as good as it always has been. There's a lot of young, fresh, exciting talent willing to showcase their enthusiasm to be on the stage with Barbados, and all Barbadians should come out for that. Information on ticket sales and that sort of stuff, where you can get tickets, will be out in the public very shortly. And then there's also, as we are also focusing on music in the square, as we would have mentioned, which would have also been the highlight of the icons for the 50th year of NIFA.
All right, of course he deferred to you, Aisha. You have to pick up and keep going.
Yes, definitely. So along with the competition as well as music in the square, we've also been doing 2 online challenges. We just wrapped up the NIFA Music Arrangers Challenge, and we saw some brilliant work by our young aspiring arrangers, as well again another blend of more experienced arrangers. So in third and second place, we had persons reworking Da Kokoti, and the top prize went to Mr. Marlon Legal, who would have done his amazing work and rearrangement of Emerton, and that will be showcased at the last NIFA Music in the Square, the third Emil Striker Tribute Night. And along with the Music Arrangers Challenge, we also have the Performance Challenge, which is ongoing. Last week, Mr. Keelan Richards would have won that, and where we're asking persons, instrumentalists and vocalists alike, to play or sing a clip we're posting, and these clips are from local top musicians. So we have persons like Mr. Andre Woodwine, and everyone is familiar with that iconic solo in Hold You in the Song. We also have a clip from Arturo Tappan's Breaking Up, and upcoming, I won't say what song it is, but I can mention the musicians. So we're also doing a clip from Romar Graves as well as Nicholas Branker. So that is something few persons can look forward to. As I said, they're being issued online. So at the NCF Barbados on IG, as well as the National Cultural Foundation Barbados' Facebook.
All right. Now you brought back some real memories. I don't know if you would know, Aisha. You know that Kokoti? I know Kevin knows it for sure.
Of course.
I know. She says, of course. Listen, you know when you say you know a song on Morning Barbados, what you have to do, right? You have to raise it. I'm kidding.
And funny enough, we always learn it in an up tempo, but then when you get into history, it's like
it's slower.
Things not only slower, but the message is a little interesting. It's not the
Yeah,
happiest.
it definitely
of songs
is a
and
real
happiest of
Bajan
memories.
story. Somebody give somebody some kamtama and tea.
But when you're young, you feel that way when you and you dance and sing. But when you get older, you hear the real meaning behind it. It's like,
Yeah,
it's
truly
okay.
beautiful. All right, let's talk prizes, Kevin. I know that always is, something big and positive, even more incentive for people to get involved. And for those who come out on the winning end, they truly will be winning in this 50th year.
Yes, please. So there are different levels of prizes depending on the challenge or the competition that you're within. NIFA has the NIFA Music competition itself. And for the entire NIFA, all the arts, there is the icon prizes. We like the James Middleton Prize. There are other prizes for best presentation, best rendition, etc., etc. Those are all judged by the judges, and there are a proliferation of incentive prizes within the competition. In NIFA Music in the Square, the icons, there are no prizes, so to speak, because it's a showcase of the life work of the icons we're celebrating. And in the Arrangers Challenge, which just concluded, as I should have mentioned, the third place would have won $500, the second place would have won $750, and the winner would have got $1,000. And I think for the Performers Challenge, the winner of each Performers Challenge is getting $500.
Oh, that's good stuff. Definitely some wonderful things to win. But we want to make sure that everybody's coming out on these 3 dates to celebrate with us for NIFA in the Square. Reflecting on getting out. NIFA really is about being in the community, really is about engaging people at that level. So it's wonderful to have people in the heart of Bridgetown bringing the music of 3 musical icons really to life for us on the 3rd, the 10th, and the 17th of November. So throughout this month, I know the 2 of you, I can brag now, Aisha is wearing her beautiful NIFA shirt. Kevin, we'd have to put a button on you or something because a blue hat. You're not representing, guy. It's the 1st
No.
of November.
There's a NIFA shirt as well. There's a
yeah, we're not sure. we're not sure, Kevin. Yeah, but want to encourage all Barbadians to come out and be a part of it, and of course support throughout this month of November. Always starts with representing in our colors. I know we're truly patriotic, And this is a wonderful way for us to celebrate with our icons. I want to hear from both of you as officers with responsibility for music. You know, which of these three icons, you know, really touch you? If you don't want to single them out, I can understand. But, you know, talk about what it means to be able to represent for these icons in this way. Go, Aisha.
As you said, I don't want to single out, but I've heard many stories about James Middleton, and I've seen the effects, of his influence on a lot of our instrumentalists. As it relates to Jackie Opal, well, there's schools and his influence in Jamaica. Again, hearing those stories, hearing these songs, how it makes you feel. I recently learned of the spooge dance, so it's important for us to know these things and then give back and keep on sharing and sharing and sharing. And Sir Emil speaks to the innovations. So all of them were innovators in their own right, and that's inspiring coming up, knowing that, you know, just believe in yourself and continue to give of your best musically.
What about you, Kev?
I think Aisha to everything I had to say, but what I would add is that it's not just the life work of these musicians in terms of their creations, but in terms of their reach. If you speak to, like, for instance, you highlight the musical output of Commodore School. You can't do that without mentioning James Middleton and everyone who would have passed through that music program and that excelled musically after his influence would have benefited from his influence. It's the same thing with reggae, with Jackie Opal. Peter Tosh and Bob Marley credit him with a lot of their work. And because of that, anything that comes after them that whether imitated or took from them is then a part of the reach of Jackie Opal. And so Emil Straker, again, with folk and calypso, is the same. So the reach of these persons in Barbados, 168 square miles, the reach of these persons on the Barbadian landscape, the Caribbean landscape, and the world has been great. And that is the takeaway for me when it comes to highlighting these persons.
Wonderful. What order are we going to go in, Aisha? For the third, it's going to be
James Middleton.
Yes.
The 10th, is Jackie Opal, and the 17th is Sir Emil Straker.
All right. I certainly hope that, you know, I'm able to make it out for all three of them. But thank you guys for coming through and sharing. I know you're doing amazing work at the National Cultural Foundation in this 50th year. What an amazing time to be a part of the cultural landscape in this way. So thanks for all the work you do. And see you in the square on the 3rd, the 10th, and the 17th as we celebrate our musical cultural icons.
Please.
Thank you.
All right. Kevin Moore and Aisha Bush are there of the National Cultural Foundation talking to us all about what's happening in the square. Make sure you come out, bring the little ones, and enjoy. We're going to take a break and come on back here on Morning Barbados. If you haven't left home yet, consider putting on your blue and yellow, you know, get the spirit going. A special good morning to the little ones who are on half-term holiday coming up for Thursday and Friday. I never had that when I went to school. I won't complain. Anyways, the ones heading out to swim sports today, good luck to you and have a good time as well. We'll be right back, so stay with us.
Morning, morning, morning. Good morning. Good morning to you.
Are you a youth group, 4-H club, school, Cub Scout, or Brownie Pack, or any organization or club with children ages 4 to 11 years? If yes is the answer, then we at Fun School, we're looking for you. Let's have fun singing, dancing, listening to amazing stories, doing craft, and so much more. I'm such a kid at heart. But to be part of this fun and exciting new season of Fun School, just simply send an email to Alicia Alves Grant at aa.grant@cbc.bb for further details. Fun School is back, and we're looking for you.
While you go about your business, we go about our business, and that is gathering the news. Stay up to date at CBC News Barbados on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Get news update on radio throughout the day. And join us for the CBC News Night at 7 every night.
Morning, morning, morning. Good morning. Good morning to you.
All right, welcome back. Now, November 1st also marks the start of Diabetes Awareness Month, and we want to make sure that we are truly involved and sharing with you, and you're paying close attention as well. We know that chronic non-communicable diseases really have Barbadians in a stranglehold. I mean, literally and figuratively, and we really have to take control of what's happening with our bodies. That calls for doing a number of things to be able to take care of ourselves and, you know, get the country in a better position in terms of health. And that all starts with us individually, and we can all do something about it. So today we want to start by sharing with you a lot of what will be happening throughout the month of November as we talk more about Diabetes Awareness Month. We certainly will continue to share with you about all that's happening, but we want to welcome two individuals this morning to share with us who will be talking more about specifically what the Diabetes Foundation will be doing throughout the month. So Hilary Ford is Marketing and Administrative Assistant with the Barbados Diabetes Foundation. Welcome. And also here with us is Dr. Asia Clark of the Maria Holder Diabetes Center. Good to have both of you ladies with us.
Thank you. Morning. Thank you for having us.
Absolutely. Now, Dr. Clark, talk to me about generally, and sometimes this sounds like rhetoric, but we really have to do it because there's so many people who don't pay as much attention as they need to their health, and hence we're seeing, you know, the spike in diabetes and all the other NCDs that we hear lots about. So for those people looking on who might not know, why should Barbadians be paying very close attention to diabetes and whether it's impacting them?
So as you said, rightfully, diabetes is a chronic non-communicable disease, and it affects countless Barbadians, both directly and indirectly. So whether you have it yourself or you have a family member or a loved one that has it. And I always say to my patients, it's quite interesting because diabetes affects every different part of your body and part of your life. Okay? So every organ that we think about, diabetes has a great effect on it. And that's why the Maria Holder Diabetes Center was actually developed. We recognize that diabetes and its complications represent a large proportion of healthcare spending every year. And we also recognize that the complications, you know, have a significant disease burden on the Barbados population. And then, therefore, the Barbados Diabetes Foundation, in tandem with the Ministry of Health, and then also in association with the Maria Holder Charitable Trust, they developed the Maria Holder Diabetes Center for the Caribbean. And the entire ethos of the organization is really multidisciplinary approach to diabetes management. We recognize that diabetes, in order to optimize your management, you need to just not only see the doctor, but you need to see a number of different clinicians to ensure that you're getting the appropriate care. We also really emphasize education, prevention, and empowerment of our patients. That's really where we like to start.
All right. I love that you talked about the multidisciplinary approach to diabetes care. I had an opportunity some years ago to tour the center and was impressed that you can do everything, because for a diabetic, even clipping your toenails and things like that, these are things that are very, very important in terms of how you approach it. So I was happy to see that you can go in and still get your pedis done there in a safe environment, things of that nature. So definitely a rounded approach to treatment and care. Now, Hilary, you're also on a mission to continue to create and spread awareness about diabetes through your work. So talk to me a little bit more about that.
Most definitely. To bring awareness and celebration to the month of November, we have a jam-packed schedule. First, we're going to be kicking it off on November 4th with our exercise extravaganza. That is this Saturday. It's going to be hosted by DJ Ras. We're going to have...
Not Ras Jim.
Yes, yes, yes. We have
Spinny and Nandi as well coming out to show us to move our bodies. We have roller skating, we have line dancing, and we're gonna have a cool down session with the police band. So we're gonna have a all around exercise for everybody, and we're gonna have some information as well, so you can exercise and have some information. And then the following Thursday, we're gonna have our annual Oscar Jordan Symposium. And then following up on the Saturday, we're gonna be having the Glow Run. So we're going to be on that fitness journey because having a healthy lifestyle has to include exercise. So that's our first 3 events for that week.
Well, that's really beautiful. And I love that you are presenting, alternatives to the traditional exercise that you usually see. So you have Nandi and Spinny. And I must admit that I'm very intrigued by that style of exercise. Who knows? I might get out roller skating, things that are different. And I think it's important to kind of meet people where they are. Everybody doesn't want to get out and run. Everybody's not intrigued to go into the gym. But what it says is there are other activities that you can do to keep yourself active. And I think that will make all the difference.
Most definitely, most definitely. We do have other activities coming up that doesn't include exercise. We are in partnership with the Lions Club as well. On November 18th, they're going to be at Dayton Griffith to have a global health village. So everybody can come out. You can have your A1C tested. That's kind of expensive. So Barbadians can come out and have it done for free. And you can also have some dissemination of information from the other NGOs that are going to be there to support as well.
All right, Dr. Clark, I want you to spill the beans for us, so to speak. What are some of the areas that your patients are maybe dropping the ball that we really need to beef up? Usually when I ask this question of healthcare professionals in the area, they talk about across the board, not just diabetes, keeping up with medication.
So definitely that's a big one. But I think generally there's just a lot, patients really lack information. And that's where the center comes into play. And we offer various programs. One of my favorite ones is the public partnership that we have with the government of Barbados. So what we do is that we get patients that are referred from the polyclinics. So patients are referred to us for a 6 to 8 month program. And during that time, they benefit from all of our services free of charge. So they see the doctor, who obviously anchors the care and helps with the management and refers to appropriate specialties as needed. They'll also see the diabetes specialist nurse, who is very big on education. So not just how to use your machine, but how to take your blood sugars, how to administer your medication. You also see the diabetes the foot nurses as well. Those are the ones that talk about the preventative care that you mentioned, so the nail clipping, also the wound management. We also have the dietitian and nutritionist, because we know that lifestyle modification, as Hillary would have alluded to, is extremely important in the management of diabetes. We also have, we've recognized that complications occur, and the best course of action is really to prevent them, number one, or to detect them early and, optimize management. So because of that, we do testing and screening for those things. So for instance, we do point of care testing. So we do the HbA1c, like what Hillary said, we do that on site. So that tells us not only helps us to diagnose diabetes, but it also helps us to monitor your control and assess whether you're reaching your target or not. We also monitor your kidneys at the center with urine and blood tests. We look at your cardiovascular health, so we do ECGs at the center as well. And we look at your cholesterol profile as well when you're at the center. And then we do retinal screening to look for diabetes changes in the eyes, which can occur with uncontrolled disease. And we do vascular screening. So all of those different areas are addressed while you're with us at the center. And the aim is really to empower you to actively participate in the management of your disease, so that when you go back to the polyclinic at the end of that 6 to 8 month period, you're better off than when you came, and you really can, continue on your upward trajectory. Also, we also see private patients as well. So you can either be self-referred, so you can decide, of your own volition, I like what you have to offer, I want to come and see you, or you can be referred from a private physician as well. We also do foot clinics where we do screenings, foot screens, wound care management. We also do, we have partnerships with specialists. So if you come and we realize you have a cardiovascular issue, you can be seen there as well, or you can be seen by a vascular specialist. And we do diabetes screening, and this is really important. because we want to detect early, we want to intervene early and prevent you from even developing the disease at all.
All right, so let's talk about that screening, because I've heard about screening that can, let you know if you're pre-diabetic, so you can work to reverse any effects that are already there. How do we do this pre-screening? Is it just a matter of making an appointment and coming in? Should you be a specific age if you are screening? Should it be across the board? What are we looking for?
So I always say, another thing, I always reference what I tell my patients, but I always tell them diabetes is caused by things we can control and things we cannot control. Things we can change about ourselves and things we cannot change. So the things we cannot change about ourselves, age. So usually getting older, over 45, increases your risk. Other things we cannot change would be, our family history, genetics, our race. We can't change those things. But then the things that we can change or modify, which would be our diet, our lifestyle, how active we are, our weight. Those are things we can control. So based on those things I just told you, we screen persons essentially, and we can make an appointment. So you can call and make an appointment, and we do testing. So we do your random blood sugar or your fasting blood sugar, depends on when you've eaten, and your HbA1c can be done regardless of if you've eaten or not. And then based on that, what result we get, we want to optimize or control your risk factors, and then we also recommend when next you should be tested again.
All right, so you can definitely listen out for more on what's happening with Diabetes Awareness Month here on Morning Barbados. As we go through the month, we certainly will be sharing more. Hillary, I want you to remind us of the first 3 activities, because I realize that you placed heavy focus, which means that you probably know better than I do that you'll be back. So those first 3 activities that we want everybody to know about that are coming up.
Our first 3 activities are going to be 1, which is this Saturday, November 4th, Exercise Extravaganza, and that is hosted by DJ Ras. We have Spinny and Nani coming out. We have roller skating and line dancing and a cool down with the police band. Our second activity is November 9th, which is the annual Oscar Jordan Symposium. And then on the 11th, we're going to be back on our fitness journey with the Glow Run.
All right, good stuff. Make sure you come out. For those people who don't know, a glow run, it means you wear stuff that will glow in the dark, so it's at night. You don't have to worry about all that heat. Thank you, ladies, for coming in. Dr. Asia Clark of the Maria Holder Diabetes Center and Hillary Ford, Marketing and Admin Assistant with the Barbados Diabetes Foundation. We certainly look forward to seeing you on Morning Barbados throughout the month to talk more and share more about diabetes so that we're all on the same journey. Hey, we're going to take a break and come back with an update of news. Stay with us.
Morning, morning, morning. Good morning. Good morning to you.
While you go about your business, we go about our business, and that is gathering the news. Stay up to date at CBC News Barbados on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Get news update on radio throughout the day. And join us for the CBC News Night at 7 every night. CBC News team is on the job and bringing you the news.
There is a saying, you can find a Bajan anywhere. Are you a Bajan living abroad? Or do you know of one who has migrated to another country? Well, we at Mornin Barbados would love to have you or them on our Bajan Afar segment. Share your amazing stories, experiences, and how you have adapted to a new culture. Send us an email to morninbarbados@cbc.bb. And together we will travel the world.
Morning, morning, morning. Good morning. Good morning to you.
5 minutes after 7 o'clock, we're going to tell you about a very interesting initiative and beneficial to Barbados as well, that the official or the officialities happened yesterday, but we're really pleased to be able to have Mr. Martin Arevalo, Director of the United Nations Office for Project Services, joining us this morning to talk about the official handover ceremony for the procurement of medical equipment on behalf of the government of Barbados. Good morning and welcome.
Good morning. Thank you very much. Nice to be here.
Good to have you with us. All right, let's talk about this initiative and how it came about.
Well, the initiative is the conclusion of the purchasing of medical equipment on behalf of the Barbadian government for the Ministry of Health and Wellness. And the funds came from the Indian Development Partnership Fund. And so it was a cooperation between the Indian government and the Barbadian government. And we actually enacted, we made it possible with the amount of money that was donated by the Indian government to acquire certain equipment that the Health of Ministry and Wellness required us to do for them.
I know sometimes for us as small islands, in the grand scheme of things, it can be really difficult to be able to acquire certain things, medications, pieces of equipment, based solely on the fact that we're such a small population. So is this one of the reasons maybe why we would need an intermediary to be able to procure some of this equipment for us?
Actually, yes, because as you may know, we have a procurement operation all around the world. So we have certain long-term agreements for specific needs in terms of medical equipment or medicines or laptops, other types of goods. So then we capitalize on that possibility of getting fairer prices for small islands or for most small countries, because we have these long-term agreements that allow us to get better conditions for in all the time.
Talk to us about the differences this can make in terms of the delivery of health care in Barbados, to be able to procure these pieces of equipment that truly can be life-saving.
Well, actually, that is our responsibility in terms of, of the scarcity of the funds, because with all the needs of all the countries all around, the funds that are available are not really enough for everything that is needed. So we take very seriously in terms of doing the best with the resources that there are. So we take into consideration what are the technical specifications that, in this case, the ministry gave us. So, the equipment complies with the needs. But then we also, of course, take care in terms of using the funds in the best way possible, getting the best prices, getting the best quality for what has been asked. And of course, this means that more people probably will be, they will have available the equipments for the betterment of their health.
Now, I know, especially in the month of November, we're focusing heavily on Barbados.
Right.
I, of course, am wearing my national colors. You're not, but I understand. But talk to us about the wider focus in the region. We know that as a region, there are certainly more of us and more voices to be heard. So working together as CARICOM, it makes it a whole lot easier a lot of the times for us to be able to get these initiatives done through arrangements with organizations like yours.
Yeah, exactly. I think that is the logical way, because as you mentioned it before, doing purchases or actions for small islands, and going by one, it's kind of inefficient because of the logistical setting framework that you have in the Caribbean region. Trying to get something for only one island, it's just going to get, it's going to be much more of an effort that if we get a pool need of something among the different countries. So I was listening, to several interviews by the CDB personnel and CARICOM personnel, and I think that is the right approach in terms that there needs to be a joint action in terms of making efficiencies for procuring or getting whatever the different countries needs, because the needs are just about the same. There are little nuances about it, but as soon as we can add up the different needs of them, getting it as a package is going to be much easier, and it's going to be better for the whole population of the region.
All right, so we're here at the tail end. You had the official ceremony yesterday, but this has been something that's been in the works. So let's talk about what it took to be able to bring the project to completion at this stage.
Well, actually, I think we are very happy, and of course the Indian government and the Ministry of Health and Wellness is happy because the project was done accordingly to what was envisioned since the beginning, how long it will take to get the goods actually in the country. In fact, the only item that is still pending arriving in the country is a refrigerated truck. Because of the complexities of getting the truck assembled, it did not get in time because yesterday was actually the official closing date of the project. But of course, we first talked with the Health of Ministry and Wellness in terms of what were their needs, what is it that they wanted. So we made sure that everything that was described to us, it was exactly what they needed. And from then, we went on to spot where were the best places to get these goods.
Absolutely. Yesterday was to commemorate the completion of the entire project. So talk to us a little bit about what transpired yesterday and what it meant overall to UNOPS.
Well, for us, we are proud of the work that we conducted. As a UN agency, we are committed to helping, the countries and their entities, ministries, so forth and so on, in achieving their goals for the 2030 agenda. And of course, we put ourselves to service in terms of aiding them, as I mentioned, managing in the best way possible the scarce resources or the resources that are available, but also in terms that whatever it's provided, it's according to the best quality standards internationally. So then they're going to receive, populations are not going to improve their livelihood, but they're going to receive items or goods that are worth having at the time.
Let's touch quickly on those 2030 Sustainable Development Goals that you talked about and how they line up with the level of support that you're offering to Barbados and Caribbean islands in turn.
Well, this is a joint effort by the whole United Nations system, and the United Nations system that is working here in not only in Barbados but in the region aligns itself with the needs and the development plans projected by the different governments. So we align what is it that we can spot, which are the best areas in which we can contribute with value-added actions for the attainment of those goals for each of those countries. So either it be health or infrastructure, education, water and sanitation, we will decide alongside the governments which are the areas in which we can better help their institutions to achieving their goals.
Oh, that's wonderful. We want to thank you on behalf, of course, of all Barbadians. We truly will benefit. As you know, here in this little island, you either know someone or you know of someone who knows someone. So we all know each other. And this means a great deal. Congratulations on the official ceremony last evening, yesterday, to commemorate the completion of the project. I don't know if you're in a position to tell us about anything that might be in the works coming up.
No, because that is something that in the framework of the project that we just worked, that depends on, whether the Indian Fund Development is going to continue supporting some of the activities of the government of Barbados. But we are at your service. At the end, as a United Nations organization, we are at the service of the people.
All right, thank you so much. Director of United Nations Office for Project Services, talking to us a little bit about the ceremony that was held yesterday to commemorate the completion of the official handover ceremony. It was for the procurement of medical equipment on behalf of the government of Barbados. I know that'll mean a great deal to all of us, particularly those of us who use the public healthcare system. Again, thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you for having me.
All right, we're going to take another break and come on back. Stay with us on Morning Barbados.
Morning, morning, morning. Good morning. Good morning to you.
Oh, hi. My name is Stacia Whitaker, and I'm a registered dietitian nutritionist and a member of the Heart and Stroke Childhood Obesity Prevention Coalition. My motto is when in doubt, leave it out, and it goes for when I'm eating, because sometimes things have ingredients that we're not sure of, and I like to keep it simple. And if I'm eating something and I'm not sure the ingredients in that particular thing, then I choose to leave it out. So I keep my snacking simple with fruit, nuts, or just water. It's easy to remember, there's no added ingredients, and it's also very nutritious. So remember, childhood obesity is real, so choose healthier alternatives. And when in doubt, leave it out.
Enjoy movies, soaps, drama, comedy, inspiration, education, music, and more. You get it all when you get MCTV, because MCTV gives you more.
Morning, morning, morning. Good morning. Good morning to you.
All right, one of those segments that you absolutely love is kind of picking the HR function apart and moving it from a place of the way we looked at it before and shaping it differently, sharing with you how HR really is a part of everything we do in business and otherwise. This morning we're sharing with Deveron Bruce, who is a political scientist, and we're going to be talking economics a little bit, so looking at it from a macro perspective rather than from a very pointed perspective, as we always do in this Let's Talk HR with Hermap segment. So good morning to you, Mr. Bruce. Good to have you with us.
Good morning to you and good morning to your audience. Thank you for having me.
All right, so let's talk a little bit about the role that the private sector really plays in driving economic growth. Let's start there.
Well, where I can start, I can say that the private sector is the largest employer in Barbados, as well as really the engine of economic growth. Because if you look at the Barbados' economy and the size of it, it's about $11 billion. And part of that $11 billion is made up of about $3 billion from government. So you can see then that the remainder is really the private sector, and that is really the engine of Barbados' economic growth. So we can start there by saying that that is the contribution of the private sector. So when we start thinking about the various fields, when we think about tourism, when we think about transport, when we think about energy, those are the aspects that come together and really drive economic growth from the private sector's point of view. Now, when we think about the private sector going forward and what are some of the additions that may be necessary now for growth, we have to start thinking particularly as it relates to exports. You just had a guest on who spoke about the size of the Barbados economy, for instance, and the fact that procurement becomes difficult because we're dealing with small numbers. When you think of economic growth, it's a very similar thing. We have under 300,000 persons in Barbados, for instance, and that limits your ability to grow in many instances. But you have about 7 billion people around the world, or more than that. So Barbados now has to start thinking about its export market. I know we have the tourism market there, for instance, which is technically an export, and it's done quite well for us. But the private sector really now has to look in different directions as it relates to selling Barbados not just sand, sea, and sun, but product and services, and just heading in a direction now where we're bringing money into Barbados as opposed to solely relying on our domestic market.
So, mid-question, does growth or success in the private sector equal economic growth? Because we know that there are certain things that must happen in tandem in order for there to be growth at the macro level, for there to be economic growth.
That is correct. And when you look at our private sector, I think there were some studies that looked at the fact that majority of the small and medium-sized entities in Barbados and across the region really are the drivers of not only economic growth but employment as well too. So no, when we start to think of that private sector space, we have to start thinking about what are the things that are necessary to help small businesses, what are the things that are necessary to help small and medium-sized entrepreneurs, for instance, in driving that economic growth. And that's not where you bring government into that discussion, because you said you're working in tandem, in essence, with our tandem rather, in essence, with the private sector. And some of the concerns or some of the things we have to start thinking about when we think of government and private sector working together to drive economic growth will be things such as the ease of doing business, one of the bugbears within Barbados and across the region, for instance. So we know that the wait times, for instance, as it relates to granting permissions may take a while. We know the bureaucratic system may take a while. We know there's often not enough research. We know there's often not enough information. And just the ease of doing business as it relates to these things can be a bit troubling for many persons in that space. And when we begin to relax now the ease of doing business and improve on those areas, then you can have really a takeoff in the private sector space, particularly for small and medium-sized entities who are now getting on stream and who are now trying to innovate and who are now trying to head in new directions and just need that additional assistance.
Let's talk a little bit about how economic growth can impact employment opportunities, because it might not always go in the direction that we would anticipate. So the country might be doing good overall, but the people in the country might not necessarily be feeling as though, you know, they are getting those residual benefits in the area of employment.
And again, you're correct. So you can have economic growth. For instance, Barbados has been doing quite well over the last 2 years, economic growth-wise, making up for the COVID pandemic, for instance. But quite often, you're not feeling the impact, as you might have mentioned. And that is often a distribution issue. We often talk about employment, or don't talk about wealth distribution. So you have a situation where it may be a certain segment of a population that's doing well. It may be a certain sector of a population that's doing well, and that may be driving that economic growth, and that may be, recovering behind in other aspects. But you're not seeing the trickle down, as they call it, so to speak. You're not feeling it in your pockets. You're not feeling on a day-to-day basis because you're either not in that sector, or the distribution, for instance, of wealth is not evenly or properly distributed. So we know, for instance, that you do get some salary increases here or there, some increments here or there, but are those increments sufficient to the extent that they can match up to the inflation that we're having? Do we have increments sufficient that persons can improve on their savings, they can improve on their spend? So the distribution of our resources really have to come into play, and we have to start thinking about the costs on individuals as well too. So for instance, inflation. How do we manage the level of inflation that we have in Barbados? For instance, most of our inflation is imported because we know we don't produce a lot here. So in many instances, we now have to think about how do we address production in Barbados to make sure that costs can be contained. For instance, the agricultural sector. Most of our inflation, quite frankly, is in food and energy. So when we start thinking about agriculture, we may have to start thinking about domestic production, and domestic production as it relates to storage, as it relates to energy inputs, as it relates to all of those costs. We have to start thinking about how do we reduce those costs so that we can protect ourselves in many instances from that external inflation. And it's really about the connections. I think if you talk to any person in that space, it will tell you that energy costs are extremely high. And you spoke with the previous guest, for instance, who were speaking about the Sustainable Development Goals for 2030. And we know Barbados is heading in a direction where they want to reduce their carbon input by 2030 as well too. So we have to get ahead now of this energy space. We have to see the investments in energy. We have to see the investments from government. We have to see the investments from the private sector. We saw recently that government divested itself from the agricultural sector a bit, will be AMC. And you're now having a private sector entity driving that energy focus. So how do we make those connections where production in Barbados can improve and increase, but also at a reduced cost, so we can protect ourselves from external inflation, so that persons actually feel the benefits of economic growth, and that $100 bill lasts a lot longer and goes a lot further because, quite frankly, you have reduced costs domestically.
Absolutely. Let's bring it back home to unemployment, because basically when we talk about businesses doing well or not, we want to see that our unemployment numbers come down. So what are some of the interventions, so to speak, at government's disposal that they can use to help reduce unemployment, of course, in tandem, as we mentioned, with the private sector?
Well, I would say immediately, I would say the entrepreneurial space is one of the immediate places that I think government needs to look at. As I mentioned, for instance, it's small and medium sized entities that employ the most or the majority of Barbadians in essence. And we have to start looking at how we fund entrepreneurship, for instance. So when we start thinking about the trust loans, when we start thinking about that space, I don't think sufficient money goes into that space. So, for instance, you may have a couple $1 million for microloans and trust loans and what's not. But if you're looking at an $11 billion economy and you're only putting $10 million, $15 million behind entrepreneurship, that is really a drop in the bucket and it will not move the needle where it needs to be. So when we start thinking about that space, we have to funding a lot more. I think government can also come into play as it relates to procurement. So making commitments to the fact that when government engages in the purchasing of goods and services, for instance, that a large section of that purchase of goods and services are reserved for persons in that entrepreneurial space, in that small space, as opposed to continuing to servicing or being serviced rather by larger entities. So you really have to think about your procurement practices. Let's say, for instance, 15 or 20% of government spending is reserved for small businesses and medium-sized businesses and entrepreneurs, for instance, so that they get funding from the government, they get support from the government, but they could also stand alone in the private sector space as well too. So we can start thinking about those things. As I mentioned, for instance, medium term would be energy, for instance. How do we reduce energy costs and energy prices? Because those are some of the largest inputs to costs. And long term, education. How do we rethink our educational system? In many instances, it is failing so many persons that they're not able now to contribute to the fullest extent to the economy because they've not developed the skills, they don't have the knowledge base, and they're just rendered in certain spaces as opposed to meeting their full potential so that they can contribute to our economy long term. So you have to think about it immediate, you have to think about it medium term, you have to think about it long term. So I would say entrepreneurship immediately, medium term energy, and long term education.
Thank you so much, Devron Bruce, political scientist, sharing some insight into how employment opportunities and economic development all go together. Wonderful speaking with you. Thanks for your time.
Thank you so much for having me.
All right, we're going to take another break. When we come back, we're telling you about a true life heroic story. That's all next.
Morning, morning, morning. Good morning. Good morning to you.
The facts say Morning Barbados reaches an audience of over 50,000 and Newsnight reaches over 56,000. It's simple. When you advertise, you're getting your message to over 50,000 of your potential customers. Make the call to CBC Sales Department today and watch your business grow. Contact us at 467-5559 or email marketing@cbc.bb.
98.1 to 1 is more than a station.
We don't just play music, we keep you company, cheer you up, keep you informed and entertained. We are a vibe. What do you mean?
Every day we bring the party to you.
We are your #1 party station.
We love playing music for our listeners.
And we're committed to working with our clients and advertisers to make sure that you get the attention that you deserve.
98.1 The One. Celebrating 18 and still your #1 party station.
From the beautiful shores of the gem of the Caribbean, Barbados, home of the amazing Harrison's Cave, the tantalizing Oystins Bay Garden, our historic garrison, the indigenous...
Morning, morning, morning. Good morning. Good morning to you.
7:30 in Barbados. Just to remind you, we have the lighting ceremony coming up later today. That's going to be just around 5 o'clock at Independence Square. So if you can, come on down and experience it. It's the Sagicor Life Inc. lighting ceremony. This is where we really light up, ignite our nation for the month of our independence. Now we're going to invite a guest at this time who's going to share a true life search and rescue incident that happened on St. Eustatius island. And I read the way he wrote it is very interesting to read the way it was written with his thoughts and so on. But I think it's going to be even more interesting for us to hear a precede version of exactly what happened then. Let's talk to Damien Corey, who is Hereditary Chief Eagle Clan, Lokono Arawaks, and Chief of the Barbados chapter of the United Confederation of the Taino people. If I got it wrong, you have to tell me. Good morning to you, Mr. Corey. Welcome.
Hi, good morning. Thank you for inviting me to share my experience with my fellow Barbadians.
All right. So, I read that you love hiking. So that is really where it starts. So, it's over to you. Let's start there. You love hiking. So you hike in the day and you hike in the night as well. And that took you to St. Eustatius. Talk to us about that.
Yes, pretty much from the Virgin Islands back to Trinidad, I've hiked. I would say about half of the significant peaks and mountain ranges. Sort of a hiking fanatic. Day and night hikes because, nighttime is cooler, you sweat less, but you also see nocturnal creatures that you would not notice during the day. So I like the balance by having the both experiences.
All right, so let's talk about this particular expedition and how this turned out to be a lot different from many of the other hikes that you did in the past.
Yes, well, actually, there's a dormant volcano on St. Eustatius, and I've hiked that by day and night at least 9 to 10 times before without incident. So I didn't think that there would be anything untoward that would happen this time. I actually went down in the crater. Well, the only thing I did differently this time was instead of entering the volcano after sunset, I decided to go in before sunset and experience sunset in the bottom of the crater. While I was down there from like 5 to 6 p.m., I was doing some day exploring in there because I heard there's a cave somewhere in there and I've never found it. But I actually made a short video where I was sort of poking fun at people who get lost in there because there's literally only one track in or out. Forgetting that my grandmother told me, you never make fun of other people because when it happens to you, it's not going to be funny. That so said, so done. Sun went down. I veered off the established tracks, exploring. And then I realized that I could not find back the track to get out. So after, walking around in there, I had my headlight and everything, but still walked around in there for about an hour, knowing that I left my wife halfway up the track in a safer area because I told her, you wait here in an hour and a half, I'll be back and we'll go home. So I was getting worried that, she's there all alone, not knowing what's going on. I'm lost. So I decided that I know for a fact that around the entire rim of the crater, there's a track. So all I have to do is scale the sides of the crater and get back on that track and I'll be home free. So I made my own, path up. Very often you're on all fours because of the angle of the slope. And, I was going up and making my way. A little ways up, I prayed that some animal would guide me to safety because that always worked before in daytime, like when I lost anywhere in Guyana or anywhere else in Brazil. In the Amazon, a bird would appear and fly a few feet away. I'd follow it, and it would fly again, and so on and so forth. So I would find my way back to the established trails. This time, there are feral goats on St. Eustatius Island, and I saw a white goat appear, and it looked at me, and then it walked off slowly. So I said, okay, this is a sign. Let me follow this goat to safety. And the track did get easier for a time, maybe about 20 minutes, and I saw that the top of the crater was in sight, but then the goat rounded the bend and disappeared. I rounded the bend and there was just one way up. So I headed up that one path, but the very last stone that I had to hold on to pull myself up and onto the trail to have the ordeal over came loose. So as it came loose and I falling back, only one word came to me. It's like, really? After all this trouble to get all this way up the crater, this gonna happen to me now? But I tumbled back into the dark I felt myself hit after I don't know how many feet at the time. I later found out it was a 30-foot drop onto loose rocks and a cartwheel backwards into a tree. And obviously I blacked out then, because when I came to, which I estimate maybe 15 minutes later, I was braced against the tree. But when I tried to move my body, it was very painful. I'd assumed then that I had broken probably many bones, because it took me about 20 minutes just to turn myself and face the tree on a little stone ledge that was about the size of my bottom to sit on, and just hold on there until, that photo that I took, because I felt my face wet. So my backpack was still on, my headlights had been knocked off, and my shoes had been knocked off, but my phone is still working. So I took a selfie to see what this wetness on my face was, and I realized it was blood. So my concern at that time was, gosh, if this is a deep cut, I have no way of stopping the bleeding. I could possibly bleed to death, because there's no way any rescuer is going to find me anytime soon. My wife didn't even know what happened to me. But then I was close enough to the top that I was getting signal. I wasn't getting phone signal in the crater bottom, so I couldn't let my wife know that I was lost. So then I called her first and told her, babe, make your way out. I've had a fall. I believe I'm injured. Try to get hold of our kids in Barbados and get help. So I found out later that she had already previously called home. I got her youngest daughter and told her she thinks something is wrong, because Dad was supposed to have been back an hour ago and I still wasn't there. So then my youngest daughter woke up my two sons who were asleep at that time, and then they tried to get in touch with me. And long story short, my eldest son then managed to Google St. Eustatius Hospital and fire service and police and so on. So he called them from Barbados and let them know his parents were lost in the crater, and his father called to send a rescue mission. And about 11 p.m. that same night, I saw the lights of the police rescue mission come up over the crater rim. But unfortunately, I was on the other side of the crater and at the highest point of the crater, where even regular hikers don't go in that area because it's too difficult. So I chose the literally worst spot in the crater to climb out and have an accident.
Oh, wow, that was difficult. At some point in time, I know you wrote that you also lost power. So obviously a phone battery won't go forever. What were you thinking in the midst of all of that, though, knowing then obviously you were able to reach your wife and your children were able to get the rescuers in? But what was going through your head at that moment as you were thinking about, how am I going to get out of this crater?
Well, luckily, I know I had, before the phone finally died, I had already spoken with my son and I gotten through to my wife, and also I think it was the chief of police on St. Eustatius, or whoever was in charge of the police rescue mission that initially tried to find me from 11 p.m. to 3 a.m. He told me, rest assured, Mr. Corey, you found, just, stay tight and don't, everything's going to be okay. So he was very reassuring. But also I'm the kind of person, and I raised my kids too, to always have the attitude that never let a temporary calamity permanently defeat you. So I knew I was alive. So once there's life, there's hope. I didn't know the extent of my injuries. After a half hour, the bleeding had stopped. So I no longer worried about bleeding to death. So it's just a waiting game at that point. I'm not able to see my surroundings and hearing rocks fall the rest of the way down the volcano. Every time I tried to move my feet, I decided that I have no option but to just stay braced in this little tree and wait until the sun came up to see and assess, my surroundings and what is possible or is not possible.
So talk about what eventually happened in terms of the rescue, and then obviously you had to get some medical treatment as well.
Right. Well, during the night, the police rescue team was calling for me from the other side of the crater, and I was trying my best to shout back, but my rib cage was hurting every time I tried to make a loud noise, so that's why I assumed I had broken ribs or something. But I later found out nothing like that, not even fractured ribs. But there was obviously a lot of muscle bruising there, so it was painful. But then I found out later that they were hearing me shouting, but because of the the circular nature of the crater inside, my voice was echoing all over the place, so they couldn't pinpoint my location. The next morning, though, Stanapa Park Rangers came, and they know that mountain and those trails better than anyone. And two ladies, Ellie and Birdie, I think, they hiked up to the area behind me where I was, and looked down and saw where I was, or at least we were able to make vocal contact because I couldn't actually see them. And they radioed then to another team led by Jethro, who was in the bottom of the crater, and they cut a trail coming up straight towards me. The ladies found me between 9 and 10, and by 11 a.m., Jethro and his team had reached my location. And when we first planned to extricate me from the 30 feet drop behind me, just straight up on ropes and so on, but then there was a small hive of bees there that were disturbed and began to attack them. So I got about 6 stings there, and the others roughly the same. And we decided that, they decided that it was not possible to take me out the shortest route. I'm going to have to be carried all the way down to the bottom of the crater and then back up out of the crater on the track that I came in during the night, the previous day. So that's what we did. I managed to slide on the seat of my pants, and by bracing Jethro and another lady who was helping him, got maybe halfway down the crater, and then a French rescue team that had come in to assist, I think they were called Acrobat X, they came up with a bodyboard and found me, and I was able to finally lie down on that and be carried by 8 men down to the bottom of the crater, where a doctor from the St. Eustatius Hospital was waiting, and another team and other folks with water and whatnot. And they did a quick assessment, and then another set of volunteers helped, and they were like relaying in 2 teams of 8 to carry me up out of the crater. Just when I got to the top of the crater, and you figure, the ordeal is over now, and you're going to the hospital and then home, out of nowhere, a whole large hive of bees then attacked everybody. At that point, I was covered with a cloth, so they had rested me down in the middle of the track, and everybody ran to save themselves, thinking that I'm covered, so the bee's not going to get me. But forgetting that I had killed several bees that stung me earlier, so the pheromones they released on me was sort of like a magnet, drawing all the other bees to come and take revenge, because this person has killed some of our people, if you want to put it that way. So they were coming under the blanket and stinging me all over. And after I counted 30 more stings, I said, if I stay here and let this entire hive sting me, I'm going to die from venom overload. So I started to shout for somebody to come on and strap me, because at this point there are 3 body straps keeping me on this bodyboard, so I can't even move to save myself. Jethro ran back. He's allergic to bees too. He ran back and brought more things to unstraps, and with that, when I burst of adrenaline is a wonderful thing. I forgot all about pain and as the guy needs to say, ran like a skunk down the mountain about 200 feet to another set of rescuers, where I then was braced like that on 2 other guys, I think the same French team, and they carried me a ways down, and then I began, because the next thing I remember was being lifted into a pickup. And I heard a lady's voice saying, "Mr. Corey, your wife's here. Don't worry, you're going to be okay." Found out later that was the governor of St. Eustatius. She was there at base camp herself, trying to direct everything. And to her credit, she had an important trip to make that day, but because of this crisis, she decided to stay back and have a hands-on approach to it. So she's a gem of a politician to have that kind of attitude.
Absolutely. Wow. This is such a story. I feel like we definitely have to share this story in its entirety, because just when you felt as though the rescuers had gotten you and you were on your way out, there you are attacked by a swarm of bees. It just kept coming at you, Damon. We definitely have to share this story. I have one last question for you. First of all, I'm happy that you made it back home here to Barbados.
Thank you.
Has this changed your love for hiking?
No, because actually it might sound ridiculous, but 7 days after this accident, my wife and I were hiking easier mountain range in St. Martin. I had to prove to myself 2 things. I had to find out how much pain I could bear on the left knee, which is still hurting me. And I realized I could hike for 4 hours on a painful knee. And then also, I don't believe I should let anything like that, any calamity, disable me or make me change things I love doing, because, accident could happen to anyone. You're only defeated when you stay down, but when you get up and move forward again in life, you can conquer any obstacle or any issue. My parents raised me to be ever optimistic and forward thinking and positive like that. So I don't let anything negative keep me down in life,
Well, that certainly is a story that we can take into this new month and through life, what you've shared and how positive you stayed in the midst of all of that adversity. I want to thank you so much for sharing your story with us. Definitely a story that we can hold on to as we move through life and think about, and it is to think positively.
Well, thank you so much.
All right, what a story of survival. Not only of survival, but search and rescue, and has all the makings of a movie. Who knows? All right, we're going to take a break here. When we come back, we're talking to you about a fundraiser that you must be a part of. It's all for the mighty Griner. That's next.
Morning, morning, morning. Good morning. Good morning to you.
Hi, I'm Dr. Kia Lewis, General Practitioner and Healthy Lifestyle Advocate. Good nutrition starts at home. So this school year, I want you to consider packing healthy, nutritious snacks and lunches for your children to carry, rather than having them buy them at school. And don't just pack things you think they should have. Have a discussion and come up with things that you both know they will enjoy.
We enjoy a game of dominoes and singing karaoke.
I just love cruise.
When you love me just a little bit longer.
You get to relax and have a drink and listen to some nice music.
It's something different. It's spectacular. It's fabulous. It's a different feeling altogether.
I never feel so good in a party yet.
Follow me to Q in the Community this Thursday.
You know why?
It's summer vacation, and CBC TV8 says laugh a little. Your mid-mornings have now included some family-friendly, side-splitting series like The Partridge Family, Benson, and Designing Women. TV not to be missed this vacation. Weekdays from 10 a.m. on CBC TV8. It's Match Day Live from the 246 with host Damian Best. Your all-access pass to the action happening in the BFA Premier League and beyond. Every last Monday of the month on CBC TV8. Kickoff time, 8:30 p.m. with analysis from our panel and highlights of the top performances. You can weigh in on the discussion via WhatsApp on 228-5562. It's Match Day Live from the 246. Don't you miss it.
My friend, you don't plan to get it. Oh, Barbados. Hey.
Morning, morning, morning. Good morning. Good morning to you.
All right, just about 10 minutes to go before the 8 o'clock hour, and we've done so much already today. Just want to remind you, Independence Square is the place to be later, 5 o'clock. If you can't make it, though, you can tune into CBC TV8. We will bring you all the action live. It's also going to be live on radio on 94.7 FM, and we're streaming on the GIS and CBC Facebook and YouTube pages, so you won't miss it. But if you can come down to the square, Independence Square, be sure to come on out and support as we light up the nation on the first day of the month of our independence. Hey, I'm joined by Orlando Hines, who's here with us, along with Shirley Stewart and DJ Radar Sounds. Now, Orlando and Shirley don't necessarily reside on the island, so I have to say, welcome home.
It's a pleasure to be
to the
here.
two of you. Radar Sounds is always in St. Lucie. So, welcome to this part of the world.
Thank you. Thank you.
Is what we have to tell you. You guys are here to talk to us about something really exciting and for a very worthy cause. I'll start with you, Orlando, because I know you do so many wonderful things for Barbados. You make music outside of the island, just like Shirley, but you also reach back. So last time you were here, you were talking about all the ways that you were working with the Richard Stout Teen Talent Show. And we've had conversations on the phone about now this fundraiser you're looking to pull together along with a few other people in aid of the mighty Griner. Talk to me about how it came about.
Yeah, we are here, me and Shirley here to perform on the Richard Stout Teen Talent Show again. We are the guest artists on the show. And me and a group of entertainers, Shirley, Radar, and some other entertainers came together. And we decided, look, the mighty Griner is sick, and he's not really doing much right now, so we are going to see what we can do to try to help him. So we came up with this fundraiser. That's how this came about.
All right, Shirley, what does it mean to be able to come home and work toward helping a fellow entertainer, the likes of the mighty Griner? I mean, like, he is just an icon in his own right here in Barbados.
Well, the proof is there. They name a whole highway after him. And I figure if you're going to do that, and he's in a situation now where he needs our help, what are you going to do? You have to come, because you don't know when your day is going to come, where someone has to reach out and help you. So we're here to support Griner. We want everyone to come out, bring your 25 cents, your 10 cents, whatever you have. Just come out. You don't have to pay to come in. And we're going to have a little something there, Orlando, where they can drop whatever in, and we support our brother.
Any donations are accepted.
It's very important.
Contributions. So I want to challenge people to make contributions based on the songs they like. So every time you like a song, you have to contribute.
I like that.
Yeah, talk to me about where and when it's happening, Radar.
It's happening on the 10th of November. We're going to be at the Flashstone Bar. And at this note, I want to say a special thanks to the management and staff of the Flashstone Bar for having us. Myself and DJ Chili, we're going to be keeping it jiggy for you. And we're going to be having some live performances in between. And we'll be having the likes of Pompey. A lot of the acts are still to be confirmed, and Jerry is going to be there. And of course, Shirley is going to be doing his thing.
That's right.
It's wonderful that we're going to have it in Black Rock.
Yes.
Because that's where he's from. Yeah. And I'm from Black Rock.
Right, that's why I was asking you just now.
You were asking me if I was Black Rock. You want me to sell you out on national TV? Yeah, but I'm from Black Rock, and I can tell you that growing up, Griner was the pride of Black Rock.
Yeah, that's right.
Especially we used to have Free Hill Blockorama, and the Free Hill Blockorama was something we organized and something that came off in anticipation of Griner winning the Road March. There was a little Miss Black Rock competition, and everybody came out. Yeah. It was a source of economic activity for those little small shops in the area, for people selling their little whatever snacks and drinks and so on. But it really was a source of pride for us. So it truly is a time for us to come out and show support for Griner at this time as well. So for you guys to come on back and share in this way truly means a great deal. I know that Shirley will want to sing Who Ain't Looking Good, Good Looking.
That's true.
Yeah.
It's a true song. Right?
Yeah, but we want to hear Walk Away From Love too.
Yeah, well, the classic. The classic.
For sure.
Yeah. Speaking of those songs, on this coming Sunday is the Richard Stout Teen Talent. It's under my patronage. Can you understand? I understand, But I thank Richard for giving me that honor. And I want the folks to come out. They get to hear me perform at least 3 or 4 songs. That hasn't been done in a while. While I was here last time for Independence, I just did a little bit of Walk Away From Love and handed it over to Osborne, the youngster who loved the song. So this Sunday, come on down to St. Leonard's Boys. We're going to be there for the finals, and I am going to be on stage live and direct.
Yes.
Apart from the Griner thing. You know, I just want to let the fans know that. It's going to be and right now, our friend Richard Stout, he's a man that I've known for many years. I met him at the Island Inn when I used to sing with the Escorts, singing the same song.
Yeah.
Ask your mother for 6 months. Just, never mind.
You have to sing the rest of it. Come on. You can't sing just a little piece. Ask your mother for what?
6 months. You know, that was a big hit. In fact, that was so big that Pluto Shervington in Jamaica, he recorded it. And then we recorded his song, I'm on bitter and I'm on dread. And I met him in Trinidad. I said, yeah, you took mine, took yours. Fair exchange.
Do for two.
Yeah, definitely. But Sunday, they should come out and come on down, support the kids, and see your boy. Oh, I turned 70 in June. I don't really want to tell you whole island, but it's true.
Congratulations,
so
Shirley.
I made the 3 score and 10.
Excellent.
Can't beat that.
It's true. And you most certainly don't look it.
Really?
Yeah,
Thanks.
that's all the difference.
Thank you very much.
Chile is also going to be joining us from New Jersey, coming to Barbados for this as well. So I know a lot of people will be looking forward to seeing DJ Chile. And Radar, you are always excellent on the 1s and 3s.
Thank you.
You know what the young people say. Yeah. So it will be great to hear you too, Orlando. I mean, you continue to make beautiful music.
Thank you.
And you share all of the music that you're making with us as well.
That's right.
So what can we expect from you when we head out to Flash Zone Bar in Black Rock to support the Griner, the ugly man?
I have a new reggae song. Just brought it out. It's called Baby Here's My Shoulder. And I'm going to be performing that live and direct. Also, on the 12th of November, we're going back to Hillaby.
Yeah.
I'm inviting everyone to come out in Hillaby and the surrounding areas and see the guys perform. The Mighty Griner is going to be there. Radar is going to be there. Shirley is going to be there. All the guys. And any entertainer that out there that want to come out and lend a helping hand, who I can get in contact with, is welcome to come forward and help out. And also, if they want to give a donation, that's cool, because we got to help the old dog.
That's beautiful. We absolutely do.
And you know, I'm St. Thomas Man, so please, Hillaby, Richmond Hall, where the Escorts is from, you all come out and support the mighty Griner.
Yeah, we saw the entire story, Shirley.
Oh,
how
what
you were
story?
singing from school days
Oh,
and going to trouble and all that wonderful stuff. So I'm happy that you absolutely are sharing,
right.
you know, your talent for Griner this time around. So there will be 2 fundraising concerts for Griner.
Yes.
The first Friday, November 10th at the Flash Dome Bar in Black Rock, and the other on Sunday, the 12th in Hillaby Tenantry.
Yes.
So we're going to come out to both of them and support the Griner as we should. Thank you for coming in, gentlemen, and sharing with us.
Pleasure.
Welcome home to
Thank you.
2 of you and Chile as well. And good to see you again, Radar.
Good to
I know
see you
how
too.
it is making that trek from St. Lucie. Don't worry, I go down there every single Sunday religiously. So we'll talk about that aside from that. So thank you for spending the little time with us here on Morning Barbados. Coming up tomorrow, we're going to tell you all about the Robinson Christmas Initiative. It's another fundraiser. We're going to tell you why you just have to be involved. Bajan Kobe Bowen, a mixed martial arts fighter, wins in New York. So we're going to reach out to him and tell you more about that. The Youth Services Committee of the Kiwanis Club of Barbados North is about to start their Common Entrance Support Program, which will commence on Saturday, the 11th of November. I know that there are a lot of parents who will want to hear more about that and find out how you can get your children the necessary help. That's all tomorrow. That won't be all. That's just a taste of what you can expect when you tune in for another edition of Morning Barbados. Remember to wear your smiles, do something good for somebody today, and come on back tomorrow. Have a great day. See you in Independence Square for the lighting ceremony, or tune in to TV 8 or listen to 94.7 to be a part of it. If you're outside of Barbados, we're streaming on our pages and the GIS pages as well, so you have no excuse. Have a great one. Bye-bye.
Wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up. Barbados, get up. Good morning.